Good morning, everyone. Today our devotional speaker, again, is Margaret Ann Kennedy. As you may know, Margaret is a passionate painter, and she also loves to sing. Over the years, she has worn many hats, from working at Margaret's at Lamar Park years ago, to working for CPL, and also at Parkway Presbyterian Church. Now, that's a variety of places. When she's not creating art or singing, she enjoys walking her dog, Bambi. Her spirit of service shines through as a volunteer at Heart and Soul. You can give a warm welcome to Margaret Ann.
Good morning. Some of you may have remembered my mother, Margaret Combs, who owned Margaret's Dress Shop. And yes, I did work at Margaret's Dress Shop for 25 years. And Margaret was my best friend. And she retired at the age of 79 years old and wrote a book after she retired. And this is her little book that she wrote. And I'm going to read a short chapter because everybody that knew Margaret knew that she was a lady. She was very genteel. And so I'm going to tell a little story on her, well, and me too. But anyway, this is a chapter, and the name of the chapter is Dignity, D-I-G-N-I-T-Y. I always thought of Margaret's as a dignified store, not stuffy, I hope, but with a certain decorum. Oh, we had lots of fun and laughter throughout the store, but I'll have to let you in on the back door secret. We had been at Lamar Park for a long time, and I had a very nice man who came several times a week to pick up our garbage in empty boxes. George had worked for me since I was at Parkdale Plaza and was very dependable and reasonable in his fees. But his truck service began diminishing, and due to progress called the dumpster, eventually he decided to retire, and coincidentally, at about the same time, our landlord decided to spruce up our alley and put in a dumpster. We would, of course, have to pay monthly for this service, and this was all right with me until I saw where it was to be placed. The workmen started constructing a wooden enclosure for it right at my back door. Now, this was to be used by every store on that side of the center, and there was no reason it couldn't be at least 8 feet away from my space. I objected with all my reasons. It would be dangerous. Someone could hide in there and molest us. We would have roaches coming in our back door. It would smell bad. It was an inconvenience for our deliveries. We couldn't park close to our back door for loading and unloading for style shows. These were just my few objections, but they fell on deaf ears, and the construction continued. Little did I dream I would have the fun and fruits this monstrosity would produce. The first big find came one morning shortly after it was finished. Margaret Ann took out our trash and came running back inside. "Mother, come help me. Someone has dumped a good-looking vacuum cleaner in the dumpster. It looks perfectly good." So back we both went out and looked, and with a little effort, we drug it out and took it into the receiving room. "Let's see if it works," she said, as she plugged it into the receptacle. It purred like a kitten, and we tossed some debris on the floor to see if it would pick it up. "Wow," I said, "this is better than our old Kirby and a lot easier to handle." A small little break on the cord, which didn't affect its performance, was all we could ever find, and Marvin soon took care of that. The next week produced a good-looking lamp, which went into our dark corner and really improved the area. Checking the contents of this dumpster regularly and nearly every few days found some treasure. The interior decorating store discarded great samples of fabric that Margaret Ann cleverly found uses for. One that stands out in my mind was a brightly striped, loose-woven fabric of striking colors. It was one of Margaret Ann's duties at church to decorate the altar every week, and she tried to use a theme in keeping with the sermon that would be given on Sunday morning. One Sunday, the subject of the sermon was the story of Joseph and his coat of many colors. And when Margaret Ann had skillfully draped the altar with her dumpster find, it really brought things into perspective. But I think our minister was slightly surprised when he complimented her on her choices, and she replied, "That was one of my dumpster digs." Several other items sometimes appeared on the altar on Sunday morning, and I couldn't help but smile when I would spy them. A large bolt of heavy red satin fabric showed up one morning, and this became a beautiful Christmas tree setting, and among many other things. Perhaps our most exciting find occurred in early October when all the stores started decorating for Christmas. We had not yet begun because I felt that Thanksgiving should come, and then there was plenty of time to enjoy the Christmas decorations. I had come to work early that day to get out some new merchandise that we hadn't had time to steam the day before. Staring me in the face was all the plastic and tissue we had taken off the new garments before placing them on the hangers. "I'll get rid of this before I begin," I thought, and I headed to the dumpster. As I raised the garbage pail to empty it, something glittery caught my eye. It was really large, bright red ornament, and I thought, how pretty. Why would anyone throw that away? I poked my head further into the opening, and as my eyes adjusted, I realized there were more gold, silver, green, blue, and some beautifully shaped. And at that time, Margaret Ann stuck her head out the door and said, "Mother, what on earth are you doing?" "Come quick, Margaret Ann, I need help." We simply couldn't pick them out fast enough, and it finally became hard to reach. We could see lots more in the bottom, and we couldn't bear to leave them. Margaret Ann tried to reach them with our dumpster pole that we had fashioned, but they kept falling back. She thought a minute and then popped into the store and returned with a stepladder. "I'm going in," she informed me. "You stand watch to see if anyone is coming. I'll hand them out to you." So up she went on the ladder and into the black hole. She would hand them to me, and I would put them in the box we had brought out. Finally, she decided she had found them all and was just crawling back up the ladder when the big BFI truck rounded the corner. Scramble could hardly describe our antics. As we grabbed our loot and hurried inside to survey our treasure, we had harvested over 50 Christmas decorations. "What are we going to do with all of these?" Margaret Ann asked. I replied, "We're going to hang them from the ceiling. I don't care if anyone knows they were dumpster digs. They are perfectly beautiful." And they glowed and glistened through several Christmas seasons at Margaret's in Lamar Park. So much for dignity. She was my best friend, and I hope you all have best friends like that and can remember something fun that you all did together.